So day 4 is the absolute value, equations, and inequalities. So this is exactly what we were doing, not last week, but the week before that, where we did the entire week over absolute value. So let's just do a quick review. Remember, 2 bars means 2 equations. So we're going to set up 2 different equations, one being the positive, so we keep it the same, x plus 4 equals 5. But then we're also going to set up one that is x plus 4 equals negative 5. Just so we can consider that, remember, in absolute value, you can have a negative number or a positive number. The bars will make it positive no matter what, so keep that in mind. So now we're just solving 2 equations. So that's x plus 4, so I want to subtract 4 from both sides. 5 minus 4 is 1. I can do the same thing over here. Same step. Subtract 4, except this time it's negative 5 minus 4, which gives me negative 9. So those would be my 2 answers. Okay? So we can do that again. This one will be a 2-step equation, but the process is the same. I have 5p minus 7 equals 7, and 5p minus 7 equals negative 7, and now I can solve. So when we're trying to solve that 2-step equation, remember, always move the number that's being added or subtracted first. So I want to add 7 to both sides, and I like to do all of this at once. I do both equations because it's the same process. Your numbers are just going to be a little bit different. So this one is 5p equals 7 plus 7 is 14. Then this one is 5p equals negative 7 plus 7 is 0. So that is okay. Sometimes people see the 0 and they're like, I did something wrong. You can have nothing on one side of the equation. Now I'm going to divide. I'm going to divide by 5. Also with these absolute values, sometimes we'll get kind of an ugly answer. We'll get a fraction or we'll get a decimal because they're the absolute value. So they're going to be a little bit more different. So this one is fine. You can have a fraction. I will try to make sure on the final that they're not really the fraction ones. Just because I know sometimes that throws us off, but it can happen. And then over here, I'm going to divide by 5. 0 divided by anything, though, is still 0. So there would be my answer, okay? So a good review there. Then let's look at the ones where I have multiple things outside of the bars. So remember, we think of those absolute values as kind of like the house. You can only set up your 2 equations when that house is by itself. We have 2 numbers outside. And I like this one because I have a lot of people that want to just do 8 minus 4 right off the bat. You cannot do that. Remember, it's 8 minus 4 times all of this stuff, okay? So when we want to undo that, we want to undo it the same way that we've been doing this whole semester, right? We want to move the number that's being added or subtracted first. So it's not this minus 4 that's being added, right? That's being multiplied. So that's going to be the second number we want to move. We want to move this 8. And it's a positive 8, so I can subtract 8 from both sides, okay? I also like this one because a lot of times people will see that negative and they'll want to say, oh, that's no solution. You have to wait a little bit. You have to see, you need to move everything around, and then we can decide. So I have negative 4, then n minus 8 in the bar, so I'm not changing that. And then negative 56 minus 8, which gives me negative 64. Okay, now I can divide. That's negative 4 times, so I'm going to divide. And so whenever I do a negative divided by a negative, that actually gives me a positive number. And what is 64 divided by 4? Did anyone get that? 16. Okay. All right, so then I can set up my 2 answers. N minus 8 is 16. N minus 8 equals negative 16. Now I can keep going. So again, now that I had it down to those 2 bars equals just the number, it is a positive number, I can keep going. If it stayed negative, like let's say divided by a positive 4, then you would get to say no solution. But you have to have it look simplified before you can decide. So I'm going to add 8 to both sides. So here I get n equals 24. And on this side, negative 16 plus 8 gives me negative 8. So that one would be kind of the longest one that you would see where you have 2 things to move outside, but then you can set up your 2 equations. I also still have people trying to set up your 2 equations right off the bat. Please do not do that. You'll get the wrong answer. You have to wait till you just have the bars equals a number. Okay, so those are your equations. Inequalities, the same, except we are having that compound inequality appear. So hopefully we remember from 2 weeks ago that less than is an and inequality. So because this is a multiple choice exam, some of those answers, I'm telling you, are going to be like the and where you shade in, and some of them are going to be out. So you can already eliminate, just by looking at the problem, 2 of the answers. So now you have a 50-50 shot of getting it right, okay? So then we have negative 2r less than 10. Because it's that less than, it's and, I'm going to set up my 2 equations. Also, I had some people not do this on the quiz, and I am working on, I graded most of the quizzes in this class. Some people did not flip their signs, okay? So you want to make sure to flip your sign there whenever we set up the negative. That's kind of that second change that happens. So then I'm just solving this like normal. So I can divide by negative 2. So I have r less than or equal to 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. And then, since I divided by a negative, I'm going to change my sign. That's why I also picked this one. So remember, and we can maybe make a note there, we're going to change the sign when we divide or multiply by a negative. So then here I have r, change my sign because I divided by a negative, 5. So and is shading in between. We can also kind of look at this. We're saying r is both larger than negative 5, but it's also smaller than 5. So we're kind of keeping ourselves between 5 and negative 5. Everything in between that we're shading in. So again, I can just do negative 5 here, 5 here. Both are open circle. So that may also be something on the final exam where maybe one problem looks exactly like this, or one answer, then another answer has closed circles. So you can also eliminate problems based on that. So use those answer choices to your advantage. If you can remember the little details, you can kind of narrow down what the answer should be. Okay? So there's an and problem. Then let's look at this next one. This one is going to be a greater symbol, so it's that or inequality. We are going to shade out. So let's solve this one, and then we'll get to our answer. So we have negative 7x minus 7 greater than or equal to 63. So this one is going to be the same. Then we set up the next one, negative 7x minus 7. I flip the symbol, make it negative 63. So make sure you also do that or your signs will just be slightly off. Okay, so 2-step equation here. I can add 7 to both sides. I'm going to do that to both inequalities. So I get negative 7x greater than 63 plus 7 is 70. Then negative 7x less than negative 63 plus 7 is negative 56. Okay, so now I can divide. So I'm dividing again by that negative number, which is going to cause my signs to flip. So I have x, change my symbol, 70 divided by negative 7 is negative 10. Then this one, x, flip my symbol because I'm dividing by a negative. 56 divided by 7 gives me 8. Okay, so here's my answer. So we need to put the smaller number first. The negative 10 is smaller. Then I need to put the 8 larger, both open circle, and we're shading out. Your arrows should match up with that, though, because look at what's happening. This one, with the 10, we're shading to the left, okay? This symbol with the 8, we're shading to the right, okay? So we shade out. So your symbols there should go opposite of each other. Okay, last one. We want to first simplify this stuff outside the bars, and then I can do my inequality. So this one, the only thing that's stopping me is I have that plus 8. I would need to subtract the 8 from both sides. So I have n plus 1 less than 17 minus 8 is 9. Okay, so now I can set up those two equations. N plus 1 is less than 9. N plus 1 greater than, flip your sign, negative 9. Okay, then I can just subtract 1. So I have m is less than 8. Again, subtract 1 over here. So m is greater than negative 10. And because I have that less than symbol, it is an and inequality. So I'm going to say negative 10, then 8. Again, both of those are open circle. If you had like the little bar underneath, then you would have closed circle. And we're shading everything in between. So smaller number, then the larger number, shade in the middle because it's that and. Okay, so that's about as difficult as it's going to get. Hopefully all the review we did last week will